Hey, welcome. This is the Jerry White Show. Just getting back into the swing of things, and we're going to get into this is episode Westbrook Christian Warriors. Going to hang out for a few minutes, let some people jump on. Although this is a highly anticipated episode, I have the text messages and emails to prove it. It's one of those things where this is a team with a lot of expectations. They got a lot of good things going on, and a lot of people want to know about it. We're going to dive into it just like we've done the other schools. We'll make our way through all 10 Etowah County high schools and give you kind of the spring-summer preview, what's going on, what the schedule looks like. But like always, we're going to start with how it went from 2020 on. Just a few seconds. Hey, thank you to the sponsors. You got to see them scrolling at the top of the page, man. Give them some love. That's how we're able to what I'm able to do, what I do. Jeff and I are able to do what we do with Kapow. What a great week we had with Kapow. Some tremendous guests over there this week. I'm so thankful to have. If you didn't go watch the mine and Jeff's episode yesterday, it was pretty fun, just a fun episode. A couple days before, we had Barry Moore on, Congressman Barry Moore. Very, very fun interview. I had a lot of fun. I think Jeff had a lot of fun. And I think they actually had a lot of fun as well. So, okay, enough bloviating. Let's kind of get right into it. We're going to start with the Westbrook Christian Warriors. Again, we all know about the split, and so the scheduling is going to look different. The traveling is going to look different. They end up in private 1A Region 4. Let's talk about their head coach. If you're putting a list together of successful high school head coaches in the state of Alabama in the history of football, Steve Smith would definitely be on that list. 5-time state champion. Jeff will get that one. This will be his fourth year at Westbrook. He is 21-11 in his previous 3 years at Westbrook, 1-1 in the playoffs. And we did a show, right? We did a show with Coach Steve Smith the last 3 years. Jeff and I did on Kapow. Had a lot of fun. And the same thing got brought up every show. It's a tough region, man. They were in an unbearably tough 9-team region. So for the fact that they should have made it 2 years ago, did make the playoffs last year, ran into a very, very tough team. It's a tough region. But high expectations. So when you talk about 5-time state champion winning Steve Smith, 304-92 overall, he's 63-23 in the playoffs. That is an unbelievably 77% winning percentage. 77%. That is tremendous. That means that all 3 stops that he's been, he does things the right way. It's going to start with fundamentals. It's going to build from there, and he is a team-first coach, and he instills discipline. He instills on doing things the right way, work ethic, hitting the weight room. He surrounds himself with high-level coaches, which I think that's something that most successful coaches do, right? They're not intimidated about hiring coaches who have expectations of being head coaches. That's what he wants. If you're on Steve Smith's staff, he wants you to one day become a head coach. That's the way he said that many times, and he will help you get there if that's what you want. So let's break this down since 2020. Kind of an up and down program since 2020. In 2020, under the tutelage of Coach Drew Knowles, who Jeff and I know very well. We did his show as well back in Etowah. They went 10-2. They lost in the second round to Mars Hill. Everybody loses to Mars Hill, right? That was a 56-21 game in the second round that year. They had 3 all-state players I want to bring up. They had Bryce Wood at linebacker. Defensive line was Carl Henry, and they had Hall Boware, big offensive lineman. Those are 3 all-state players. Then they kind of went downhill a little bit. From a 10-2 season the next year, 21, they were 4-6. In 22, they were 5-5. And in Steve Smith's first year, 2023, they were also 5-5, but again, unbelievably tough region. And they were 3A. 2024, you started seeing the tables turn a little bit. That team was 6-4. And you look at some all-state players on that team, You talk about Brody Blevins, who's an athlete. I think he would have been an all-state defensive tackle. He's just a dude, right? He's a football player, a fantastic quarterback. He made it as a athlete, and Reed Barber made it as a kicker. And Reed is an absolute weapon. Be looking out closer, probably a couple months in. I'm going to be rating my top players in Etowah County. If I'm handicapping it now, it's going to be tough for me to say Reed Barber is not in the top 3 football players in not just Etowah County, but in the state of Alabama, certainly in this northeast part of Alabama. Reed is an absolute dude. Last year, back to 10-2, just like they were in 2020. They lost 2 games. They lost at Geraldine in the playoffs, and they also lost in the second round of the playoffs, 31-15. And they lost to Piedmont 40-27. That's the only 2 games they lost. This team was special. Again, 9-team region. They finished number 2 in the region, and Piedmont went on a run. That's what they do. This team is special, though. They average 42 points a game offensively. They're giving up 12 points on the defensive side. And let's just go through the 4 all-state players from last year's squad. Again, thank you for everyone jumping on. Throw some questions, comments, like, share, subscribe. It really helps me more than you know. And put your favorite what's your favorite Westbrook memory from this past year? The overtime victory. Jeff and I heard so much about that from Coach Steve Smith. He said that was kind of a gelling point in this team. So put your favorite Westbrook moment in the comments down there. So all-state, all first team, everybody that made all-state for Westbrook this year were all-state, and they all returned, which is unbelievably impressive. You have Brody Blevins, who made it as an athlete again, tremendous quarterback. The sophomore, Easton Skaggs. He is developed into a monster. Defensive coordinators, like, he's a dream if you're a DC. If you're an offensive coordinator, you stay up late. You lose sleep wondering, how do I block Easton Skaggs? He's a sophomore, and a really good fact I didn't know, but I found out this week, is there's only 2 players in the history of the school that won first team All-State at Westbrook as a sophomore. Who could that be? Put it in the comments. Who do you think? There's only 2 that won it as a sophomore. I just gave you one, Easton Skaggs. The second one, first team, by the way. I'm just talking about first team. I know someone's going to say Reed made it as a sophomore. Reed did make it as a second round. A second team player. I would have put him first team. He's a dude. But that's Brody Croyle. Brody Croyle, Easton Skaggs, the only 2 all-state first-team sophomores in the history of the program. That's pretty special. Of course, Reed Barber made it 2-time all-state. He was the first-team all-state this past year as a punter. I think he made it as a kicker the year before. And if you look at linebackers, Titus Jones. Bruh. That Jones family is just different. They're just special. They are incredible athletes, incredible football players, and he's going to bring some damage. Again, 4 first-team all-state players, and they're all coming back. With that being said, though, before I kind of dive into the schedule in the new region, I had a conversation back and forth with Coach Steve Smith, kind of giving me some insights. And I really appreciate Coach Smith always being so gracious with his time and giving me information, because he wants his kids highlighted. He wants his program talked about, wants his school talked about. And I'm so appreciative that he's always given Jeff and I an opportunity to do that, and shot this over to me. When you look at key losses, one big one stands out. One huge one stands out to me, and that's Brody Wood. That dude was an incredible running back. Every facet of the word, he was that guy. They lose 2 on the offense. Jack Larkin on the offensive line, and they have only 2 returning starters. They lost some key seniors on offense. Only two returning starters in Blevins and Jack Larkin are back. But they lost Brody Wood. They lost Maximus Jones and a big trio of wide receivers, Brody Johnson. They lost Hammondtree and they lost Bo Kilgore. Those are huge losses. Also, they lost 4 offensive linemen. Let that sink in. 4 offensive linemen, and that was a strength of their team for a couple of years. Cooper Lancaster, you had Valentine, you had Taylor Brown, and Luke Armstrong. Those guys are gone. Only 2 seniors on defense, but they were very good leaders. They were anchors of that defense in nose tackle Jake Haney and free safety Luke Thompson. That's some big losses, but to me, that offensive line, starting up from the center, Cooper Lancaster, who keeps everything together, huge losses. Brody Wood is a huge loss. Those wide receivers are also big-time losses. But you're going to be okay, I think. You have Brody Blevins back, quarterback. Who is your favorite quarterback in Etowah County? There's some good ones. What's up, Scott Coley? See you watching. Appreciate everyone on here. Coach Michael Short. So bringing back Brody Blevins, Reed Barber, who's a weapon, Titus Jones, who is dynamic. Easton Skaggs is a complete player. He is a dude. And they were all first-team All-State players. Senior, they bring back Brooks Whiteside, and they got the other I call him the other defensive end, Isaiah Hooten. It would not surprise me to see this kid be an All-State player as well. Linebackers, they bring back 2, Hirschman, and I can never pronounce Jerry's name. We'll call him Jerry Z. I'll jack his name up, so I apologize if he's watching or his family's watching. In the secondary, they got Carter Cothran, Maddox Mooney, Gavin Michael return, and there's a lot of expectations on this defensive group. Again, this team gave up 12 points a game. They lost a lot, but those expectations don't go down, especially when you have the talent that Westbrook has. They had a couple of coaching changes as well. Coach Joe Barry will be joining the staff as a secondary coach. He's replacing Jimmy Easterwood. Coach, I can't believe he pulled this one out. Coach Frank Tucker, longtime Alexandria head coach, brings a lot of experience. He left, and Coach Short, he left and went somewhere in Georgia for a little bit. And he will be replacing the defensive line as Sean Smith will not be on the defensive line. Here's what Coach says. Excuse me. Let me get a little sponsor of Celsius. That's good stuff. Here's what Coach says about expectations. And he always says, you really never know, but he promises. If you know, he doesn't promise something he can't keep. He says, I promise you that he has high expectations for the upcoming freshman and sophomore group, but they are loaded below them. 6th through 8th grade, absolutely loaded. Lots of positive momentum coming up with Westbrook School in general. He says, we've just started to scratch the surface of what this place is about to become. Dynasty. He's talking dynasty. And you build that how? 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th graders. That's what they're putting in place. And he is unbelievably excited to be able to coach this program. He's grateful for the school community and the buy-in from everyone that's been implemented. It's a special place, and he sees the writing on the wall, and it won't be too long from now. When you look at some other players who I think are going to get some opportunities to shine, they're going to have to. Again, I was so big on Brody Wood, but there's a young sophomore coming in, Mango Shannon. He's a 10th grader, will be a 10th grader. He's going to get a ton of carries. Jordan Berry's an upcoming freshman. You better circle now. They bring back 9 starters on defense, and this kid is going to get a lot of playing time in the secondary. He is going to be that good. And one of my favorite players on the team, offensively for sure, is Parker Sims. My wife and I were able to go to a game last year when Kusa was off, and we were able to watch this kid make some plays. Parker Sims is going to be a big target. He's kind of, I think I'd probably call him a security blanket for Blevins. He will be open I promise you that. And he will make the catch. If he can touch it, he will catch it. His goal is to get better, make an impact. He is unbelievably talented. And again, one of my favorite players on the team. When you have Titus Jones, again, he's a 100-plus tackle guy, outside linebacker, the opposite side of Easton. That's going to mean pick and choosing how you run the football. And there's no good options if you're trying to run against this defense. They're going to be nasty. They're going to be dogs. And I'm very excited to see them play. And that schedule, oh my. Let's talk about this schedule if I can. First, let's talk about the region, then I'll get into the schedule. Again, I'm going to take time for you guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, put it out there. It helps me more than you could possibly imagine. So when we talk about this region, and we all know the big split, private and public split. And so this region is going to be 1A, private school region 4. You're going to have Coosa Christian, who is the defending 2A state champions. They were 13-2 last year. You have Decatur Heritage, who was also a 2A program last year. They were 1-9. You have Lindsay Lane, who did not have a team last year. Then you have Mars Hill, who was the 3A defending state champions, 15-0. You got Shoal Christians, they were 4-7 in 1A. Whitesburg Christian, they were 3A. They were 5-6. And Mars Hill returns 3 All-State players. Whitesburg returns 2 All-State players. They got a really good running back. We'll talk about him as the season progresses. That's Whitesburg Christian. So when you look at this schedule, top to bottom, pretty impressive. When Coach was building this, he's very intentional. Coach Steve Smith is very intentional how he builds a schedule. I think he knows if his team is how tough they are, what those expectations are, when they need a tough game, hey, when they may schedule maybe a little lesser team. All 4 non-region teams made the playoffs last year. I think Coach is trying to build this for a championship run. This is a team that's built, and the schedule shows it, and I think Coach Michael Short would agree, is when you're building a schedule, you want some tough games. You got to know how your young kids are going to react under the bright lights in tough situations in a hostile environment. So let's look at this region. Let's look at this schedule, this 26 Westbrook Christian schedule. At Asheville, you talk about a program with a lot of hype. This Asheville team, just ask Kevin Moore. He will absolutely tell you how the atmosphere and everything's excited around Asheville athletics. So they open at Asheville. Then the meat of the schedule, boom, Mars Hill comes to town. So they get to come to Rainbow City, Alabama, on the campus of right before the next game, on the campus of Westbrook. And the next week, they're at Coosa. So Coach Smith has scheduled the defending 3A champions week 2. Then you go to the defending 2A champions at Coosa Christian week 3. Unbelievable. That's your first 2 region games. The region could be decided after those first 2 region weeks. Crazy. You better be ready. You get right into the meat of your schedule. Then you go to Coosa, then, which is not a long road trip. You could hit a driver over there, Coach. You have Decatur Heritage come home, and then you have another program that's a Decatur Heritage. It's a region game. Then you have Aniana, who there's a lot of talent. No one's really talking about this Aniana team. Brand new coach and staff. This team is going to give people problems. And they made the playoffs last year. This Aniana team kind of circle it. I expect them to really make a run. So that is your home opponent. Then you come back to region play. You go to Lindsay Lane Christian Academy. That's a region game. Then this is an interesting team. You have Trinity that comes to town. That's a 3A team. Trinity Christian Academy. I think it's in Montgomery. They were a 3A team last year. I know they made to the second round of the playoffs. That is, again, a very well coached team, a team that's been in the playoffs. They've won in the playoffs. So that's another of those really strong non region games. Then you're at Shoals Christian, a region game. You're at Whitesburg, who, again, 3A, they were 5-6 last year. They returned 2 All State players. That's a team that's on the rise. That's another really good team in this region. So then you're going to end your season at 5. What are we doing, Coach? What do we do? Another team, a perennial state championship team. They made it to the second round last year. I think they were 8-3 last year, so kind of a down season for them. But they returned all-state running back Ryder Gibson, and they were a 3A team last year. So again, it's Asheville. You're at Asheville, Mars Hill at home. You're at Coosa Christian. You're home against Decatur Heritage. You're home against Aniana. You're on the road at Lindsay Lane. Trinity comes to town from Montgomery. I'm sorry. You're at Shoals. You're home against Whitesburg. That's your last region game. And then you close your season at 5. So that is a unbelievably difficult schedule. Gracious. That's all I'm going to say about that. So we're gonna find out what's going on, how good this team is. Look for them into some. They're going to be working. They're going to be put in competitions. They're going to be doing 7-on-7s. Every rep is a competition. Everything they do is a competition. They are, like Coach said, they are ready to start a dynasty. 6th grade up is loaded. This team is loaded. This defense is nasty. It would not surprise me to see this defense do better than last year. Last year, I think it was 12.7, 12.5 points a game given up. This defense is good enough to be in single digits. It would not surprise me if this defense does not give up over 10 points a game. I'm telling you. Let's see how the offense comes together. I just happen to think that you give Parker Sims the football. Circle his name, man. Parker is a special kid, and he's going to fit in well with these kids. So they lose a lot. They lose some talent. But Blevins, Easton, Reed Barber, could he be the top player in Etowah County? You have to watch my my show in a few weeks when I actually give out the Jerry White show top players in our area. I'm pretty sure Reed will be on there. So thank you again to our sponsors. Hey, do me a favor, seriously, like, comment, subscribe, share. It helps me. Don't forget to check Jeff and I out on Kapow. Next week, Jeff will be broadcasting from a patio somewhere. He's on location. Let that sink in. Thank you, Reese City. We see you, Mayor, over there. Love the way he does his broadcast. Live on location. Jeff Hunter will be live on location. Like, comment, subscribe again. Thank you to Twin City Used Cars. I got a big tent sale going on. Tree Man Tree Service, Jared Bogle, 256-393-0127. Sam Boswell Honda. Mayor Joe Taylor, the greatest mayor to ever mayor. God bless you. Have a great weekend.